going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety.
2 years later.
This breaking news now. Sources have confirmed to Fox News that far-left Democrat squad member Cori Bush of Missouri is now under federal investigation for misusing federal security money. Bush has spent more than $750,000 on private security since she was elected in 2020. Now, remember, these are the same people who defunded the police, but then had to have private security. A watchdog has also demanded that the Federal Election Committee investigate $62,000 of that money that Bush paid to her now husband. He was her boyfriend back then. She hired him to be a security guard from her campaign account. You may remember Congresswoman Bush, one of the big proponents of defunding the police in 2020. I mention it again because look how much she spent to make sure she certainly didn't defund her protection.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, I am fired up for this video, okay? Because news like this makes me so happy. It warms my soul, okay? It warms my soul, even though it might be a little premature because nothing ever really happens to corrupt Democrats. But who knows, right? Only one can hope, okay? And boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, I got a bombshell story for you guys today, okay? Involving the dumbest member of Congress, no other than Miss Cori Bush.
Wealthy should pay their fair share.
Yes, wealthy should pay their fair share.
What is a fair share? What percentage?
So you're saying that you're saying that they're paying their fair share is what you're saying?
No, I'm asking what percentage is a fair share?
Their fair share, the same, if a third of my money is going to taxes, then I think a third of their money should be going to taxes. Well, it does.
I'm trying to understand because you realize the effective tax rate on the poor is less than it is on the rich, right?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not the poor. I'm very close to that line, but I'm not the poor.
Okay, so the effective tax rate on the middle class is less than it is on the rich, correct? What fair share would you like to change the tax rate to on the wealthiest, what percentage of Americans, so it's a fair share?
So let's say the wealthy 1% could pay, let's say if they paid, let's just give them 45%.
You know, the black supremacist lady that always cries white supremacy when she doesn't get her way. She can't make an argument for or against any piece of legislation in Congress without crying about racism and white supremacy. Yeah, that woman, okay? Somebody that St. Louis should be embarrassed to have represent them, okay? The woman that was a major hypocrite when it comes to defund the police, and the fact that she spends hundreds of thousands of dollars of campaign funds on security for herself.
Congresswoman, before we let you go, let me ask you about something else aside from the moratorium. You faced some criticism in recent weeks over your push to defund the police. Campaign records show that you spent roughly $70,000 on private security, and some critics say that move is hypocritical. What's your response to those critics?
They would rather I die? You would rather me die? Is that what you want to see? You want to see me die? You know, because that could be the alternative. So either I spent $70,000 on private security over the last few months, and I'm here standing now and able to speak, able to help save 11 million people from being evicted, or I could possibly have a death attempt on my life. And we're also talking about the same exact people who say horrible things about me, who lie to build up their base. And then because they lie about me, I receive death threats. Now, they don't address the fact that I receive death threats after they go on air and say horrible things about me. But then they want to say, oh, but she needs private security. I have private security because my body is worth being on this planet right now. I have private security because the white supremacist, racist narrative that they drive into this country, the fact that they don't care that this black woman that has put her life on the line, they can't match my energy, first of all. This black woman who puts her life on the line, they don't care that I could be taken out of here. They actually probably are okay with that. But this is the thing. I won't let them get that off. You can't get that off. I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
Wow. Room temperature IQ stuff right there. Okay. Yeah. So Cori Bush is now under investigation by the DOJ for allegedly paying $62,000 to her now husband as a security guard from her campaign account. Now, again, this sounds very familiar to what Miss Fannie Pack Willis is doing with taxpayer funds down there in Atlanta, but Republicans are really slow walking doing something about that. But with that being said, this one is particularly interesting, and I'm gonna tell you guys why it's interesting, and the timing of this is so interesting in the grand scheme of things. But first, let's play this clip from Newsmax so we can learn a little bit more about this situation, this investigation into Ms. Cori Bush.
This time involving Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush, who's also a member of the so-called squad.
Just coming in, congressional correspondent Kilmany Dukart joining us live on Capitol Hill. She's got the details. Kilmany.
Sean and Emma, good morning. This came to light late yesterday afternoon. The House Sergeant at Arms announcing that it had received a subpoena by the Justice Department. Early reports pointed to a House Democrat for allegedly misusing security funds from their members' representational allowance. This was actually brought to light on the House floor. The House clerk reading this as part of a routine disclosure on the House floor. And of course, we can now report that according to 6 sources that were sourced by one of these Capitol Hill newsletters, Punchbowl, they are saying that this has to do with Missouri Democrat Congresswoman Cori Bush. She was questioned by reporters late last night about this investigation. She reportedly declined to comment and actually reprimanded that reporter for approaching her because she had a toothache. She, of course, was...
Let me guess. She cried racism, right? You're racist, okay? That's what's going to happen, right? Her response to this, which is going to be hilarious, by the way. She's definitely going to say that the investigation into her is because she's a black woman. This is a white supremacist attack against her, okay? We already know what her defense is going to be, okay? She's not going to defend herself, okay, by denying any of the allegations, okay? She's going to say that this is just white supremacy. This is what she's going to say.
Was first elected to the House in 2020. And again, a watchdog has demanded that the Federal Election Commission, the FEC, investigate the $62,000 that Congresswoman Bush paid her now husband as a security guard from her campaign account. And back in 2021, also important to note that Bush had taken heat for spending $500,000 on private security, despite her impassioned pleas to, quote unquote, defund the police. Now, again, bombshell news here on Capitol Hill. Important to note, she's not the only Democrat here on Capitol Hill under investigation. Democratic Senator Bob Menendez is also under investigation. But we want to play for you again how we heard about this news, the reading of this from the House floor clerk. Take a listen.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. This is to notify you formally, pursuant to Rule 8 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, that the office of the Sergeant at Arms for the House of Representatives has been served with a grand jury subpoena for documents issued by the U.S. Department of Justice. After consulting with the Office of General Counsel, I have determined that compliance with the subpoena is consistent with the rights and privileges of the House. Signed sincerely, William P. McFarland, Sergeant at Arms of the House of Representatives.
And we have reached out to Congresswoman Cori Bush's team for a comment. We are waiting to hear back right now, as well as the Justice Department for more details about this investigation. Sean and Emma will bring you those details as we have them.
Wow. Wow. I am loving this. Okay. I am absolutely loving this. Okay. Now I gotta tell you guys, although Cori Bush, I think, is obviously probably guilty, okay, of misusing campaign funds. I think that was obvious from the beginning. The fact that this woman is pro defund the police, but yet she was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on security for herself and paying her family members, right? Paying her lover the money to be her security with campaign funds, which is clearly and obviously corrupt. Again, just like Fannie Pack Willis using taxpayer dollars to pay Nathan Wade to go after Trump while Nathan Wade is clapping her cheeks, right? What's up with all these black women, right? And them using funds inappropriately with their lovers. I'm just saying, right? Is this a black woman thing? I'm not sure, right? But all jokes aside, I actually think that something is going to come of this, right? I think that Cori Bush is actually done. I think that her time in Congress is limited. And the reason why I say that, despite the fact that most Democrats never face consequences, is because this one's a little bit different, right? There's one thing that you can't do if you're a part of the establishment, which is to not be pro-Israel enough, okay? And the squad has faced a whole lot of criticism from the establishment Democrats in the wake of the Hamas attacks in Israel about their rhetoric and the fact that, again, they're not pro-Israel enough. And Cori Bush is one of the members of the squad that has come under attack, and she is currently being primaried in her district by a pro-Israel Democrat who is looking to take her seat. And that's probably going to happen. And I believe that that's part of the reason why you're seeing this DOJ investigation, because Cori Bush just got her card pulled by the establishment Democrats.
More than $500,000 has poured into St. Louis to help elect Wesley Bell to Congress.
He launched his campaign against Congresswoman Cori Bush last October after she called for a ceasefire in Gaza. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is here with more on the money coming into this race.
Mike and Ann, back when Wesley Bell jumped in, Congresswoman Cori Bush's campaign debts stacked 6 times higher than her cash on hand. Now both candidates are out raising money, trying to bolster their war chest for a fight that centers largely on war policy.
I need some money.
You have to raise money because campaigns are expensive.
Congresswoman Cori Bush and prosecutor Wesley Bell are both doing something they say they don't believe in, raising money to run for Congress.
I am for campaign finance reform.
I want the money out of politics. I don't, this is not a good system at all.
Federal election law caps individual contributions to campaigns at $3,300 per person per election. So far, Bell's campaign reports raising more than $600,000. But other outside groups like the American Israel Public Action Committee have more leeway to raise even more money.
So what we've heard is anywhere between $2 to $20 million right here in this race. They want to buy this seat.
I've never seen $20 million. I've never been offered $20 million. But I think that there are a host of issues that this district that need to be addressed in this district.
What do we want? Ceasefire!
Bush rallied her supporters to call for a ceasefire in Gaza, drawing opposition from AIPAC.
They decided, well, since you won't say that you stand 100%, with Israel, and since you said ceasefire, that was the big thing. You said ceasefire. We want to get you out.
It's hard for me to justify a ceasefire after a ceasefire was broken by Hamas, the terrorist organization.
In the last election cycle, AIPAC reported spending $14.5 million to help elect 342 pro-Israel candidates.
And they used that to help oust anybody who does not stand 100% with Israel in the way that means that Israel has to be supreme.
The group boasted its involvement in 13 critical primaries against candidates who would have weakened the U.S.-Israel relationship.
And Hamas is a terrorist organization that has made it clear that their goals are the destruction of Israel, and we cannot tolerate that.
The deadline to file campaign finance paperwork for the last 3 months is coming up this Wednesday. That's when we'll learn more about who is bankrolling Bell's campaign. At her rally Saturday, Bush suggested that some of those people could be Republicans trying to meddle in a Democratic primary.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? Now, the writing's on the wall here. Cori Bush is done, right? Cori Bush is done, okay? In addition to the fact that clearly and obviously she probably was misusing campaign funds. She definitely was. She's a huge hypocrite for that, and she definitely deserves to get kicked out of Congress. In fact, she actually shouldn't be in Congress at all. It is actually a shame that those voters voted for her, right? I cannot do this video without clearly pointing out the obvious coincidences that we continue to see in the wake of what happened after the Hamas attacks in Israel. Basically, if you're not pro-Israel enough, essentially, you're getting canceled, right? You're getting canceled big time, okay? Because that's definitely part of what's happening with Cori Bush. I don't think that she would be under DOJ investigation if it wasn't for that, okay? I think that they have decided that, yeah, we're not going to allow her to continue to be in Congress, and this is how they're going to get her out of there. And see, this is why I laugh and I chuckle, right? When you guys disagree with me, when I tell you that Claudine Gay, the woke Harvard president, the former Harvard president, got removed because she wasn't pro-Israel enough. She allowed the wrong type of free speech on campus rather than her losing her job over plagiarism, right? Because if you actually pay attention to what's going on, they don't care about plagiarism. Harvard already knew that she was plagiarizing her papers. In fact, plagiarism is extremely prevalent in academia, okay? In fact, Bill Ackman, one of the guys who happens to be Jewish, by the way, who was so upset and so mad and trying to get Claudine Gay out of her position, it was discovered that his wife allegedly was plagiarizing. And his wife is in academia or was in academia, right? So it's extremely prevalent. Everybody knows that it happens. That's not a reason why she would be removed as president, because president is not an academic position. That is an executive position, right? If they actually really was so concerned about plagiarism, then she still wouldn't have her academic job, right? She's still a professor there, which is, again, an academic position. It doesn't make sense to remove her from the executive position for what she did as an academic and then to let her keep her job as an academic when the mistake that she made was the mistake of allowing the wrong type of free speech, not being pro-Israel enough as the executive of Harvard, which hurt Harvard's ability to get donations, which is important for an Ivy League university. Endowments are basically everything. And Harvard was not going to risk billions of dollars in endowments over a woke black woman who probably should not have been in a position in the first place, okay? And that's what you're seeing happening here with Cori Bush. You know, is she guilty? Probably, yeah. I mean, the fact that the DOJ is investigating her probably means that they're going to eventually bring an indictment against her. But don't get it twisted. I don't think that this would be happening if it wasn't for her stances on other issues and the fact that, yeah, I mean, they're trying to get up on out of there. And this is just how our politics goes. And again, I know that people will be like, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. No, I'm not being anti-Semitic. I'm literally just calling it like I see it, right? I continue to see the same pattern of people getting canceled because they don't have positions that the establishment agrees with, and I'm simply just calling it out for what it is. That doesn't make you anti-Semitic, right? That's just me telling you the truth. I'm just calling it like I see it, okay? Regardless, though, just like Claudine Gay, Cori Bush should be removed, right, for the allegations against her because, you know, I definitely don't think she should have been in Congress in the first place, just like Claudine Gay should not have been president of Harvard in the first place. But I want people to understand the deeper aspect in regards to what's going on here so people can understand that there's a very disturbing pattern of what is happening because we cheer this stuff on. Okay, and I'm cheering it on because I definitely want her to lose her job, but she's just going to be replaced by somebody that's woke, but they're pro-Israel. Just like the new Harvard president will be somebody that's woke, but they're pro-Israel. And there's nothing wrong with being pro-Israel, but I think there is something wrong when you have people that are being canceled because they're not pro-Israel enough, right? Again, that to me, I think is an issue that people should wake up and realize that, hey, this is happening right in front of our face. Let's call it like we see it. Just because it's happening to people that we disagree with, doesn't mean that this is not an issue that we should be concerned about. Because that same anti-Semitism card that is being pulled against people that we don't like, and they're being punished for it now, is the same card that will be pulled on conservatives when conservatives don't fall in line with the establishment agenda. And we've seen that happen before, okay? So I'm just saying, you know, we can celebrate, but this is something that is a disturbing pattern of behavior that we should be concerned about. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.